Joe, if you're the best suited to explain where we've been at on this process and what we're trying to do as a town on the ash tree, the dead tree issue.
All right, well, in the last couple months, the ash trees have become a huge problem in town. They're popping up by the hundreds. It's nothing to get into a subdivision and find the skyline completely abandoned as far as the leaves and the trees, and they're dying very quickly within a couple months. Typically, it's a 2 to 3 year, 4 year death, but as of late, with the dry, it just accelerated the dying. So it's become a huge issue in the town, and then there's so many variables within the scope of this. You've got conservation easements, drainage easements, town lands, town park districts, right of way. There's a lot of variables. So Josh and Karen, myself, and Tom pretty much came up with a policy which I think is fair and equitable across the board as far as responsibility, not only from the town's aspect but from homeowners, and put something out on our website that everybody can see and view and at least know where they stand with the trees. It's not so much the trees dying, but they're becoming very vulnerable because the woodpeckers, in a matter of months, are annihilating the trees 20, 30 feet, 40 feet off the ground, making the entire canopy vulnerable. For those out there that are watching, or anybody that understands the ash trees, these ash trees can be 30 feet, 50 feet, 100 feet. And it's the big ones that are the most vulnerable. They're 2-3 feet in diameter at the base, 90 foot tall. And when they've got a 100-foot wide canopy at the head and it's compromised halfway up, it becomes a liability and a very dangerous situation. So we're putting together a package so that the trees that are the town's responsibility and or the park districts where it's a chargeback item, we can at least get the best price for doing this rather than writing on a county contract. We're going to put together a bid package and then solicit services so those that are compromised and are a liability to the town and our responsibility that we'll take care of.
Is this countywide?
Oh, it's statewide. It's huge.
And have you talked to other guys?
So yeah, any other towns, absolutely. And it's funny because it seems to have been harder on the west a year ago or 2 years ago and pushing its way to the east. The problem is by the time you look at the tree, and it's very easy to see the tree, it's got like orange spots on it. It looks like a leopard almost, and that's the beetles. Once the beetles are in there, the beetles are in there by the thousands on each tree. It's amazing how fast they're in there, and the tree will go from somewhat healthy to dead in a matter of 2 months. But it's pushing its way east, and I don't know if that's with prevailing winds or I'm not positive or an expert on how they move.
Remember when this first arrived?
A couple, 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
They said in a short period of time there would be no ash trees around.
Yeah, and the sad part is, and we've run this a couple times where there's actually companies out there that are inoculating the trees and trying to save them, but in our opinion and based on history, it's a feeble attempt.
Right.
Because once it starts pushing through, nothing you can do is going to stop this thing from moving. So best thing we do is be proactive and hit it head on with an approach.
Well, and Joe, to your point of proactive, and I'm going to hand the baton back to me on this one because I just was kind of shocked when I was first approached on this thing. I said, well, what is the science of making sure that the ash borers don't kill trees? They don't have it.
There isn't one.
There isn't one, which kind of surprised me, but it is what it is.
You said they can inoculate them and prolong the inevitable.
The inevitable, right. So that, was our first fact looking into how we're going to handle this. The second one is, let's face it, until May in Rochester, all trees look dead. We bloom late, and once they bloomed, that's when all of a sudden we saw the results of what has happened, since the fall. Joe, you went out, and I know Nick Mooney's been on this. Josh, you've been on this. I mean, there's been a lot of deployment of town employees out there really trying to assess how many of these trees, and you think it might be over 1,000.
You pull into, I could name 3 subdivisions right now, pull in the perimeter is all ash trees, the skyline is bare. And what used to be a solid canopy is now completely bare.
It's sad.
Yeah.
And then, it's funny because I guess, it's not funny at all. As citizens started calling in, emailing in to us in town about, hey, this tree is dead, it's big, it's hanging over my house. Having been the son of an insurance agent, and we talked about this also, Paul, with our insurance agent here in Webster a couple weeks ago, our insurance agent confirmed what I already knew. That's tantamount to being on notice. when the citizen shows us that the tree is a problem, if that tree falls and destroys their house, we're not insured as the town. If that tree falls and hurts somebody, or worse yet, kills somebody, we're not insured. How much would that cost be to the town if something like that happened? It's almost immeasurable. I say that because the immense number of these trees, as Joe and Josh and the crew has gone around, and they're trying to really figure out, okay, hey, look, that's on your property, homeowner. That's not our business. That's your property. You got to take care of it. But this is our property, or a right of way, or a park district. That's on us, and we got to take it down. So within that, and the reason why we're doing this resolution, it would be easy to just go to the tree firm that has the county contract. We can piggyback onto that, and we don't have to go through a bid process. The problem is, I think that tree contract is more for 1 here, 2 here, this and that. And we're thinking that if we put this out to bid and give a really good bid of, here are the 460 trees we're looking to take down and where they are and where we want them cut down at, whether it's, at the canopy or whether it's right down to the ground. We really believe that we're going to save a lot of money than having the county contract just piggyback onto that. So what the plan is that the ones that are the most imminent, that these things are literally leaning over and ready to fall on someone's house and they're on our land, we're going to use the county contract on, and we're going to do them now. If we get into this bid process that starts on July 29th for this, hopefully within a couple of weeks, we'll be able to have Dolly open up the sealed bids, and we'll figure out which of these tree places is the lowest. The ones that the bid will be on are not the most imminent, but they still are a danger point. It's a kind of a subjective thing. We're not going to cut down 1,000 trees. We know that. And I'll give you an example. A tree that we wouldn't cut down is if there's an ash tree that's in the middle of a forest that's 8 trees in from the edge. What happens when that tree falls? It's going to lean against another tree. It's not going to hit anything. So that's a kind of the analysis we're trying to do.
You would be talking about in a conservation easement or in a park district for that, right?
No, the
We don't really have any
park district is ours. We got to cut those trees down. The park district, Paul will be charged back what the cost of that was. Conservation easement is on someone's property.
Okay.
We're not taking that tree down in this. Okay.
I'm just wondering where there would be a forest that we would be dealing with.
Maybe you shouldn't have used it. Let me just say this. This isn't in the budget.
Oh, I know.
So, there's never a good time to have something like this that could cost up to 6 figures. And we're trying to manage it, balancing what it's going to cost and also the risk. Like I said, you sit there and say, oh my goodness, if it's $100,000 to do this, that's not in the budget, wow. However, like I just said to you at the beginning, if one falls on a house, it's going to be more than $100,000. So, it's just kind of one of those things that, it's not a great situation to be in, but what I've been very proud of, to tell you the truth, the team, Joe and the DPW guys and gals and Karen, you want to talk about in a very short period of time coming together, writing policy, getting stuff out there, promoting it, this and that. Government, unfortunately, goes a little slower at times than private industry. This effort was like private industry. I think it was a real feather in our cap as a town, and how the employees really came together and came up with a good plan. So, anyway, that might have been TMI for the board members. If anybody has any questions on this, because
No, but I did see the social media piece that was put out explaining the different scenarios of where a tree might be and whose responsibility it is, and I just think that it was really well done.
well, who do you think wrote that?
I would think it
Thanks,
might
Josh.
be, It
She's gonna
was
come out of that room.
Josh and maybe the woman
I told
Karen!
Yeah,
Yeah, it was really good.
yeah, she did a great job, and I mean, it was, like I said, it came together really quick. So,
And I did not go to look, but I'm sure it's on our website as well.
oh, yeah, yeah. And the citizens it's robust. They're calling in, they're emailing in, they're filling out the
Submitting
form.
forms.
So they're,
And depending on where it lies, we've got it broken up between different entities so that nothing gets lost in the mix.
yeah. So, unless Bill or Barry or Patty or John have any other questions or comments on this one?
I do not.
I propose a resolution to solicit bids for the removal of ash trees in the town of Webster to be advertised as of July 29th, 2020.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye?
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Cataldi?
Aye.
When will the bids be open?
I think the way we had it was that it was gonna be open for 2 weeks. 'Cause that is a Wednesday, the 29th. Is that what it was, Patty? Okay.
We're
Dollar,
advertised on the 29th.
29th. And as you know, Barry, there's only a certain number of companies in town that could do something like this. You know, it's not your guy or gal out of the back of their pickup truck. I mean, hundreds are gonna be in the bid. Biggest thing we got right now is that between now and the 29th, I told Joe and the gang, to have that bid be solid, we have to have the inventory really specific so these places can go out and take a look at what they're,
Yeah, but when we advertise,
But I
we
think
have
it's
to have
2
an
weeks.
opening date.
Yeah,
Don't we?
I thought it was,
If it's 2 weeks, it is the 12th of August.
yeah, I could have sworn that's what,
Joe, do you have an inventory of the ash trees?
Not currently, no. It's growing by the day. So, but Josh and I talked extensively today about the bid specs and how we'd have to put some type of quantify on here and so that the bids are apple to apple.
Okay.
Barry, would you, I mean, I had it as 2 weeks. Do you think it should be longer, shorter?
2 weeks should be enough
Okay,
for
then-
companies to bid on it,
I
as long
think-
as they have the document.
yeah, I think it would be back in this boardroom on Thursday, the 20th, because we as a board would have to accept
Right.
a bid.
So you're open on the 16th and award on the 20th? Is that what I'm hearing?
Is that right? It's Thursday,
The
the
12th
on the
is 2
12th.
weeks.
Yeah,
Okay.
We could award at the workshop.
we could. I mean, it depends if these guys say that
The 12th,
13th,
13th, yeah. Is it
13th.
it's a day to
You
review.
know,
13th is the workshop.
Thursday.
yeah.
Second Thursday. That's the day you want to open the bids?
No, I want to open them on Wednesday, the 12th. And,
Yeah, okay.
I'm
and
looking
that's a
at the
good
wrong
point,
year.
Bill. I mean, I know we usually don't do
I don't know how
resolutions
fast
and
we have to
workshops.
get in to start cutting them down, that's the question.
Well, we can use the county contract for those that are,
We've got a few that are ready to fall on a house, I would suggest we use the county contract and get it
That's
done.
what they
And
said
that's what
they
we're
were gonna
doing,
do.
yeah. When they're doing the inventory, and it's a bit subjective, they have to assess, this we're going to the county contract and saying, get out there and cut it down yesterday. But the ones that aren't as imminent, they're gonna go into this bid, and then there's gonna be ones that we just keep out of the bid, because if Joe's right that there's 1,000 trees.
Is this gonna be a turnkey operation, or are we gonna supplement the efforts?
it's probably gonna be sole. I don't think that we would have the resources to do that, to aid ourselves. Yeah, but again, the operation could be different depending, that's what Josh and I were talking about as far as the variables in this, depending on location, compromise, width of canopy, height. Those variables are all gonna change as to whether we just remove the canopy and remove the liability, or do we take it to the ground depending on location. This is gonna be one of the hardest specs to write based on, it's not like you're doing an addition where it's, it's very black and white. This is gonna be a tough bid spec to write.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of variables out there, so we gotta make sure that we cover our bases and that the bid spec is enough where those bidding on it, they can see it and read it and it's apple to apple.
I can understand you wanting to allow yourself to bid out just cutting off the tops, the canopies off the trees. That would expedite the whole deal. But in doing so, you're gonna leave yourself a lot of trees that the residents are gonna be calling you to take down yourself.
Again, it depends on location, too. I mean, if it's in the middle of the woods, so be it. If it's Park District, as long as the threat is removed, that's
Okay, if
our
it's a Park
obligation.
District, okay.
So, yeah. So, there, again, there's right-of-way easements, there's a lot of variables, so that's why it's gonna be a tricky one to write.
Because I know in the past, we've had trees go down, big trees in park districts that are leaning on other trees, and the residents have called us to have them removed because they felt that they were a danger.
Chances are, these ash trees that are vertical, hypothetically say we leave it 25 in the air, it's not gonna fall right away. To be honest with you, it's gonna become a food source for a lot of wildlife.
Okay.
It's a tough one, because, I mean, to your
Yeah.
point, you do the canopy, which is cheaper, but if you know in a couple of years, you've left 40 feet, and then when that 40 feet falls down, 10 of it's on someone's land.
Well, it's gonna be not
We're
just a danger, it's
yeah.
gonna be unsightly, and residents are gonna
Right.
call on that.
Exactly. So, I mean, you really gotta balance this, and I mean, hopefully Joe and.
Could you do some type of spec that would allow one of the town employees to be with the crew to go out and identify the trees and direct them as to what they want done, what you want done on that tree?
Yeah, we had talked about that, because we need, I don't wanna say to protect our investment, to make sure though that it doesn't get twisted sideways by either lack of communication or a homeowner's influence, which has happened, so that's,
Well, and as I've said, the homeowner's influence, I've been told that when we do one tree at a time through the county contract, and the town says, hey, go out for, $800 and cut down this tree, that there's been situations where the homeowner said, hey, I talked to the town, while you're out here, cut down this one, cut down this one, cut down this one. And we get a bill for $5,000. That's a problem,
Yeah,
right?
that
That's
doesn't,
not gonna happen once
No.
we get a bid, because if we accept a bid, that company knows that they said that they were gonna do that scope of work that's in the bid. I don't wanna hear boo about them sending us a bill for more than that, saying, oh, well, while we were out there, the homeowner said, what?
yeah, that
That's not
isn't,
gonna happen
No.
in this thing. But as far as the specificity, when they do start cutting them down, I think we will probably have to go in and inspect what we expect. Because the last thing you want is if we have a couple of ones that we're like, you gotta get that right down to the ground, and then they go out there and just do the canopy and think that they're gonna still bill us for the whole bid. So we would have to have some type of,
protect our investment.
inspection, especially on the ones where we're expecting it to go down to the ground. So, should be a fun process, but, like I said, we'll probably be back in front of you guys and gals on the 13th or the 20th with the bids, and there might be some more, information at that point about just how many trees, well,